in playing a slave in the theater, never, ever, ever came close to actually living the same anguish or reality of a person who was actually a slave. Physiologically and emotionally, I would prepare for those roles, and it was always very overwhelming. It was always a lot. As an actor, you do want to be truthful and embody the person's actual experience as authentically as you can. But my acting never came close to that of which someone who actually lived a chattel slavery experience. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. My mind's always been split because I can see the pros and cons of both sides. I can see why making slave movies is critical, and I can also see why it's deeply problematic. So this video is for anyone who might have felt that same tension about slavery pieces, since much of American history involves learning about being in bondage. This movie is coming out with Will Smith entitled Emancipation. It's based on a true story about a man who frees himself from slavery after his back was ripped open from beatings by his slave masters. And he runs away. He exposes the brutalities of slavery through a photo of him. And that sort of went viral in the 19th century. So this topic felt very, very present in this moment. And in this video, I do want to play a game I like to call To See or Not to See. When you look at the media landscape, there is this morbid fascination with creating pieces that really highlight and focus on the travesty of the human experience, where humans are horrible to other humans. Enter Trauma Olympics. And these are the pieces that are often considered critically acclaimed. Now, part of this is that car crash phenomenon where you're driving on the highway, you see a car crash, God forbid, and it's fiery and it's chaotic and you just cannot look away. But the other side is this more voyeuristic thing where we're watching the brutality up close and it's happening to others, so it's much easier than experiencing it for ourselves. Do I think that tragedy should never be captured on film? Maybe, not completely. I'm not of the mind that it should be completely cut off, because I do think these films and movies are super important and have illuminated things that we were otherwise unaware of. But when you see the brutality of something, it often affects the psyche deeply, making your inner empathy longer and your compassion increase for suffering. Now, none of us who are alive today, thank God, have been enslaved in the American chattel slavery machine. But unfortunately, slavery is still going on, metaphorically and literally around the globe. So these films can offer a glimpse into that reality. It also can be the first time that an actor is actually seen for their work and their great range, and I definitely support giving actors opportunities. Many actors who've won or been nominated for major awards did so out of these roles where the character was in an oppressed position. So in some ways, you could argue that it's not so much about the slavery genre, but it is about the workers and the people who get to participate. I took a pretty hard line a few years ago with the George Floyd murder and decided I was not going to watch another video about Black people being brutalized. I was so incredibly disturbed and heartbroken, as many of you are, by the many videos and the virality of seeing this depravity. And I'm not saying that I don't think people should see the brutality, but I'm also not saying that people should watch. I think psychologically and emotionally, we shouldn't be subjecting ourselves to Black bodies being destroyed on a regular basis, especially where this conflict comes of race relations in our country. And as an artist, I was seeing myself only make headway as an actor in those oppressed roles, but I did not want to progress more that way. Representation matters. When you put a person or a people in the same positions over and over and over again, you are bound to have people think that that's where those folks belong. And as a storyteller and someone who wants to make redemptive films, I know the issues that come when media puts a similar idea in our heads and we consume so much of that same story, that same narrative, and we miss the nuance of all of it. Not to mention that there is a psychological issue where when you see something in front of you, your body can't always tell that what you're watching is not actually what you're experiencing. You can look this up. It can lead to stress and nightmares, and in severe cases, PTSD if you're taking too much of that in. Now, I don't even know how ethical it is to make money off the backs of trauma and horror, where this is an industry and there is creative licenses taken and not necessarily psychological resources being considered for those who participate in the filmmaking or who see this type of film. I'm also saying this in full transparency, believing that these stories need to be told. But I do wonder if there's an alternative to them being told this way. What I do know, though, and what my hope is in, is ultimately that there is a creator, a God who cares about his people. And that's all people, right? All of the image bearers that he's created. He wants the beauty of us to be seen. So the question for us in consuming these movies and these films is, does this help me see myself and others and our history accurately and purely and with nuance and dignity? Or does it cause us to detach or disconnect or desensitize us to even our past? And we have to ask ourselves that every time we choose to consume art. We have to ask ourselves whether or not what we're consuming is worth taking in. I believe that's what it means to have redemption in media, and that's why to see or not to see is a great question for any film, content on YouTube, etc. So this isn't a very conclusive video because I'm not going to tell you the answer on whether you should or shouldn't watch these types of films. I want you to answer that for yourself. But in the meantime, I would love it if you would drop your thoughts, drop your insights. Are you going to be watching Will Smith's Emancipation? Let me know down in the comments below, and make sure that you hit the like button on this video and make sure you subscribe if you found this insightful. I would love to continue having this type of conversation with all of you. So until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.